It is. Some have, some have. So we put a play a little bit. That'll play over there.
I think the College of Business and Entrepreneurship is a great place to study. The curriculum and the programs are formed and informed by great business leaders and entrepreneurs like James Donnelly, who not only invest in the students but also invest their time in making certain that their programs will produce the kind of employees that will be successful. The new program in property management was their vision.
Can't find enough talent now to meet all of our needs, so we're super excited about having a property management program here in Florida. I think property management is the best kept secret. It's challenging, very interesting, varied. You can't export what we do to India or China or another country. This is a service business. The buildings that we all manage, whether it's commercial, residential, institutional, and they'll be here 50 years from now, 100 years from now. So this is a business, if you're looking in this crazy world for long-term, steady, consistent increased employment, this is the business you should use.
The courses that we put into the program are specifically...
The good-looking guy right there.
Different facets of the property management industry. Specifically, we look not only at residential property management, but also commercial property management, facilities management, as well as asset and property management. The program will also offer a number of internships for students, scholarships, as well as the opportunity to participate in case study competitions and other industry-focused activities. It's pretty much a guaranteed employment upon graduation from the program by virtue of the partnerships that we've already established with industry professionals.
The difference in property management is that the learning curve is so steep, and the speed that you can move your career to a really substantial management position is unbelievable. And in our firm, students 5 years out of college have real high responsibility. Jobs in our firm, if you are good in this business, you are going to have a substantial six-figure salary.
The opportunities that students have to learn and to grow and to challenge themselves, to be challenged by others, and to achieve their potential is what's most important to me. So I believe that if you're really serious about your career, really serious about making an impact in your community, that NSU is the place to be.
All right, everybody.
join me in welcoming Mr. James Donnelly. He is the founder and CEO of the Castle Group. Obviously, you saw him a little bit here in the video, but he is the person who pretty much single-handedly is responsible for us having the property management minor. So I've asked him to come in today to talk a little bit about himself, but also about the property management field and kind of some of the opportunities that are available there, and as we're opening it up to James.
Thanks, Well, first of all, I assume you've already seen that video or you wouldn't be here in the program. So that was the video we put together when we put this program together to get all of you to sign up. So it was clearly a very good video because you're all here. And I want to tell you, I have treats with me today. Who was at my office today? What's your name?
Gabriel.
Gabriel. So Gabriel, you met my wife Kathy.
Yeah.
She said I can't come here without treats. So a little story. I have 3 sons, 29, 27, 25. My 27-year-old just got his master's from NSU Oceanographic Center in marine biology. So that's one of my connections. But my sons tell me what trinkets we should give away. And I didn't know what a spinner was. Did anyone know what a spinner is? It's a Castle logo spinner. And also, I didn't know what a pop socket was. Apparently you put these on the back of your phone. I know I'm dating myself, but I have things for you. And then, you may not know this, but the chair of the board of NSU is a guy by the name of Alan Levan. And he is the CEO of a company called BBX Capital. BBX Capital happens to own Hoffman Chocolates. And I have here Hoffman Chocolates here today. So this is there's going to be a lot of rewarding things happening in this class. Let me start with some questions. This is kind of fun, by the way. Even though I was instrumental with Fred and some others at creating, I've actually never spoken to the program. I did a lecture once, but separate from the program. So this is the first time I've ever had the honor of talking to you. But I wanted to know, put up your hand, how many of you are in the property management minor? Okay, that's positive. And how many of you have a Castle Group scholarship? Fantastic. I'm in the right room. And by the way, how many of you are from outside the US? It's going to be relevant for later. And excellent. Good. So I really didn't know that much about NSU, but I got a call maybe 5 or 6 years ago because of my entrepreneurship in Broward County. They wanted to induct me into the Huizenga Hall of Fame. And I was quite honored, and that happened. And then they wanted me to be on the Realizing Potential Capital campaign. You know, your school's just raised $500 million, which is just phenomenal. So I did that. And then, of course, my son came here, and then I did a lecture, which I'm going to reference at the end. Would that be on the website somewhere, the life-shaping lecture? Anyways, if it's not, we'll have to link it. Yeah. So here we are. I just put up some of my history here. I'm going to tell you a bit about it because, you know, whenever I'm speaking in front of anybody, I always say, well, who am I speaking in front of and what do they want to know? And I'm looking at a lot of younger faces before me, and I'm thinking, you're sitting there going, I really don't know exactly what I want to do. And I'm taking real estate, and I've took this property management course, but I'd love to hear from someone that maybe would help me with my decision making. One thing I can tell you for sure, the quality of your life, the rest of your life, equals exactly the quality of the decisions you make. And one of those is going to be what courses you take, when you graduate, whether you, where you take your job, who you marry, all of those things. So my outcomes for today, for you, why did we create this property management minor? Share some of my experience to see if it's relevant for you. Sorry about my back there. Advantages, why would you want to have this as a career? Types of property management. By the way, I'm a 100% residential property manager, and that's going to be biased in my comments, but I mean, there's so many things that cross over. I think it'll be relevant no matter what you're interested in. What can you do? What could your career look like? And then some trends. There's some really interesting trends. You think of property management. You probably didn't think of property management. When your parents, you talk to your parents, what do you want to do if you're living? Doctor comes up, accountant comes up, lawyer comes up. I can guarantee you, you never had your parents go, you should be a property manager. Am I right? So we'll tell you some really cool stuff about that. And obviously Q&A, and I will say this, if anything that, as we go through this, you have a question, it's way better interactive, put up your hand, ask the question. And I want to have as much fun as possible, and I want you guys just to make whatever, I'm here for an hour and a half, let's maximize that value for you. So, why did we do this? I have a video, but actually that one I think is this one. Basically, so the Castle Group, we have 1,500 employees, all in Florida, although on September 1 we just opened our first out-of-state office in Dallas, Texas, Plano, to be specific. Anyone here from Texas? I didn't even tell you this, did I?
No.
Yeah, very exciting. And we cannot find people to staff all of our positions. And then I looked across the country and I said, well, where are these property management programs? Because I'll just fly to the university with the program and recruit those people. Well, there's 5 programs in the country. And then I thought, well, why don't we create one here? And I just had this experience with NSU, so I went to who was then Dean Jones. And I said, I think we should start a property management program here at NSU. And he loved the idea and scaled it all out. And at the second meeting, I learned that, in fact, we would have to fund the program as well. So we did that, and in fact, of course, these scholarships that you are on are part of that. So it's very exciting to me to know that we helped, you in some way be in this course. So we now have one of the few programs in the country right here at NSU, and I can't tell you enough about your administration. What a great partner they've been. I'll explain the picture first. I came from a very humble place in Ottawa, Canada, and we had no money. And on our street, which was, modest homes, there was always this one guy that had a nice brand new car. And when I was about 12 years old, I went to my father and I said, Dad, why does Mr. Miller always have the nicest car on the street? And he said, I don't know, go ask him. No, I said, what does he do? He goes, I don't know, go ask him. So I walked down the street and I knocked on Mr. Miller's door and I said, Mr. Miller, what do you do? And he's looking at this 12 or 13-year-old in front of him. And he goes, well, I'm a CPA. And so I walked back to my parents and at 12 or 13 years old, I said, I'm going to be a CPA. And sure enough, fast forward 10 years, I'm a CPA. In Canada at that time it was called a chartered account. We're now all CPAs. And off I was, you guys are too young to remember, but there was a firm called Arthur Anderson, and it was the biggest one in the world, and I was a CPA. And 15 months in, I hated it. And I thought, I cannot believe I spent all my life to be a CPA, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be CPA. By the way, is there any accounting majors in here? Okay, I can go on with the story then. Because can you imagine, you went through all your schooling, and you knew what you wanted to do, and you got that job, and you're 25 years old, and you go, I don't want to do this. That's not good. By the way, I was married at that time, just got married, 24 years old, and I had to go to my father-in-law and say, I'm quitting my job as a CPA. Now, CPA is kind of a pillar of society, right? Like, you're pretty cool. You would want your daughter to marry a CPA, and when I quit, he wasn't happy. So I show you this picture because I was an entrepreneur from the beginning, and I know in this room right now we have some entrepreneurs. In your mind, you know if you're an entrepreneur or not. And for whatever reason, we opened a pizza place. And this is me. You guys can't see that picture very well from over there, but anyways, if you want to know what I looked like, I'm 57 and I was 25, so 32 years ago. And the funny part of the story is the Castle Group is owned by 3 people: James Donnelly, Rob Donnelly, and Craig Vaughn, our president. And so 32 years later, we're still the same owners, different business. But this could be you. You may decide you want to be property manager, or you could run a pizza shop. That didn't go very well, by the way. The thing about an entrepreneur is you fail a lot, and then you finally figure it out. So then I got out of that business, and at the time, it was the 80s, and real estate was going up, and we started selling real estate investments. And I am telling you, just the market took off. It was nothing about our brilliance, it's timing. Another lesson for you, because we're in it right now, because you guys are taking real estate. Real estate, I don't know whether we've covered this, Fred, it goes like this, right? It goes up and it goes down, it goes up and down. Forever. It's always been that way. So You want to buy here and sell there. You want to be in real estate when it's going up and not be in real estate when it's coming down. It sounds really basic, right? Hard to do. So everything was going up, and this was the fastest growing company that's kind in Canada at the time. But guess what happened? They changed the tax law. This was a tax-driven investment. Same thing happened in the US. And all of a sudden, I was out of business again before I was 30 years old. So we decided that we were going to come and buy apartments in Florida and convert them to condominium and sell them to Canadians. Has anyone heard of a condo conversion? That's what we did. Apartment to condo, you sell it to an investor and an owner. And that went really, really well, except in 1994, the Canadian dollar went to like zero, and our sales stopped. Well, our investors had asked us to start a property management company. I didn't know anything about property management. You know more than I did then, because you're taking property management minor. And so we started a property management company in 1992, and in 1995 changed the name to Castle Group, and we grew it. And so the Castle Group manages 105,000 units in the state, all over the state, soon to be Texas. And I'll talk to you more about actually what we do, but we are residential property management of condominiums and HOAs, gated communities. As opposed to, anyone here live in an apartment, rental apartment? That's called multifamily. And I know you guys have probably been over all this. That is, you'd think it's the same, right? An apartment, you could just change the title and it could be a condominium, but it's a completely different management strategy. I put a couple things up here I want to talk about. When you want to get into businesses, I'm sure there's some people in this room that want to get into the technology, which is a cool business, real estate that can go up and down. You're really looking at a type of business that matches your personality. So one of the things about property management business, and if you're employed, as an employee of a property management company, property management is not going anywhere. They pay you a management fee at the first of every month forever. It's called recurring revenue, and if you want to work for a firm, it's good to work for one with recurring revenue because you'll always have a job. But when I say that, we bought a couple companies, and one of those companies had a property in Tamarack, and we started managing that company in 1981, and this is 2018. 37 years ago, this one property has been paying us a management fee every month, at the first of the month for 37 years. That's a good business. One sale in 1981 caused that recurring revenue. So this is a real staple of property management, is this idea of recurring revenue. And I gotta tell you, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Because of all of this, I made a lot of money, and now I get to give it away. And so we do a lot of philanthropy. Sorry, your name again?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, you were at our Castle Cares meeting today, I think?
Yeah.
And so we have a part of our company that our job is to help the community and give them that money away. So that's part of what we do. And then finally, I'm really lucky, I get to invest money in startups. Funnest thing. You almost always lose all your money, but it's a lot of fun. And so I sit on the board of all of these startups, and I'd love to talk to you about that in our Q&A if you'd like. But so anyways, this is what I do, and the reason I share this story with you is you're sitting there going, I don't know what to do. But just one decision, don't worry about what that decision is. It may not be perfect. There's something called the success cycle. You make a decision. You implement the decision. It could be great. It's more likely wrong. So you adjust, and then you re-implement it. If you want success in your life, come up with a plan, make a decision, implement it, evaluate it, adjust it, and just keep going like this. And that's what I did. Failed, oh, got this, and away you go. And you're gonna have the same experience. You're not gonna be 100% successful at everything you do. So I hope kind of my journey gives you some perspective as you go through your decision making. What the heck am I gonna do with the rest of my life? And by the way, I have, as I told you, 3 boys, I think maybe a little older than you guys, and I watch them go through this process, and they're like, Dad, I don't know what I want to do. Just do something, evaluate it, and figure it out. So, the Castle Group. We just give you kind of a picture of what it would be like to be in this business. You're taking a minor, so you're thinking about it. I did just a couple pictures of our office. So our home office, we call it, has about 120 people in it. And it supports all of the properties that are all over the state. So you're looking at the accounting department. So one of the things we're going to get into in a minute is property management can be so many different things, and you're taking a lot of different courses. Probably any one of the real estate courses you're taking, you could have some job in this space. But, so this is accounting department. You can see, I think that Stacy is in front of a computer all day doing the financial statements for the properties. She's an accountant. And we have a very modern office. I think my assistant threw this in because we just renovated it all. We have this huge millennial, I don't even think you guys are younger than millennial, employment group coming up, and they just think different. And they like open concept, and they like impromptu meetings where they can just get together. So this is just with these booths and phone booths all over the office where the teams can just get together and go solve a problem. I have a video we can show later that we show in CASA Group's orientation, and we'll see if we have time to get there, but it's a video of some of our teammates saying what their career looks like. So I started here and I ended here. And so I'm gonna leave that one for a moment. But I would also say, and Gabriel was there today, under construction, right, Gabriel? Our whole office is being renovated right now. Anytime you want to come in and just see the opportunities in this space, come in. I mean, literally, Fred will give you my coordinates and work with my assistant.
Your office is pretty nice.
Yeah.
But you weren't there.
I wasn't there. Oh, you went into my office?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we also have internships. Has anyone been an intern yet? Couple? And so I know we have NOVA students as interns, so it may be some of you. And if that is of interest, then we do advertise that, and it's a part of your curriculum on the minor is you have to do an internship. So we basically make sure everyone has an internship. And you saw in the video, there are so many jobs in this property management space right now. Anyone that wants to get it and is competent and is a hard worker, like I think, Fred, you said, it's almost a guaranteed job. It is. It's almost a guaranteed job coming out in the property management business today. I want to just give you a little flavor. In this strategy structure, people, this is true of every business, and I'm going a little off real estate just to kind of give you how we think at the CASA Group, is we have a strategy. We want to manage larger communities, higher end communities, with full-time on-site managers. Some smaller communities, right down to single-family homes, have one manager and they have a whole bunch of properties. That's called a portfolio manager. Or you manage big properties and there's a full-time on-site staff. We only do the latter. Why do I tell you that? I mean, it's not really important to your course, but we're so specific in the properties that we want to manage, it's only 15% of the market. So we're able to structure our company to match the strategy. Our whole org chart, if you looked at it, and I won't bore you with it, is consistent with that. And then once you have the structure, you got to put all the right people on the bus. I got to get all brilliant people like you and put them in the right places. So this is what we do. And then how do we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace? So in our business, in the property management business, for the most part, it's a people business, right? You've got someone who's renting, whether it's in a commercial building or a residential building, and you have to deal with that resident or that tenant, and it's people business. If you don't like people, you would need to be in this part of the business where you're doing with numbers and paper. And then property management is such a detailed business. We have systems and systems and systems. So if you're a tech person, this is a wonderful space to be in. And then finally, we're going to talk a bit about how technology is changing our business. So let me talk a bit about the industry. I've talked a bit about Castle and us specifically, but can you imagine, this is obviously, by the way, this isn't I know we called the Casa Group, this was an independent picture. I was trying to show when property management started. This is a castle, and there was a king. By the way, that's one of the reasons I named Casa Group Castle, because if you're the head of the Casa Group, the king. So someone had to take care of this building. There were property managers, I don't know, 2,000 years ago. Someone had to make sure all the drawbridge worked and all that. This business has been going on forever. It's also pervasive. Every building you drive down or walk by has a property manager. Could be the owner, but it's everywhere. And you don't even think about it when you go by those buildings, but it is absolutely pervasive. And then we're going to talk about how you can specialize in this space. But the other thing I love about this industry, you can't export it, right? Like, how many industries in America are no longer here? No, Trump's trying to change that. Because they're exported somewhere else. And you can't do that. I mean, you can't manage, that's not right, a building like this from another country. I talked to you about recurring revenue. So the types, have you gone over all the types of management, Fred? Okay. So property management, I talked to you about community associations, condos and HOAs. Some of you live in apartments, those are called multifamily. But commercial is a huge space. You have office buildings, you know, the high-rise office buildings. There are so many functions to run up those types of buildings. Retail, you go into a store to buy something, that store is in a retail space. By the way, where is everyone buying everything right now? Online. So what does that do to bricks and mortar retail? Takes them out. So I actually owned a shopping plaza up until last month, and I've been trying to sell it for 2 years because it's an asset class that you do not want to be in. This is, by the way, everything I'm saying is my opinion. There may be an opposite one, but they're not in the room today. You do not. You got to think. If everything's going to Amazon online and there's all these stores that are closing, you don't want to own the real estate because they can't pay the rent anymore. Retail is an asset class that is very questionable right now. Industrial, think about this. Where does Amazon keep all of its inventory? Industrial space. You've seen the big plants, the logistics, the robots that take the order and take it in and take it out, or FedEx or UPS. You've seen their big plants, I think, where all the stuff comes in and these robots take it out. It all is occupied in industrial warehouses. What would be a good asset class to invest in? Industrial right now. So there was a time this was completely opposite. Retail was so hot. Remember Blockbuster? You guys don't even remember Blockbuster Video. There was a Blockbuster Video back in the day, and they opened up 3,000 stores. You wanted to be in retail, and Amazon didn't exist, so you didn't want to be in this. So you got to think, what asset class do I want to be in? And I don't just mean as an investor. If you want a job, do you want a job in retail management right now or industrial management? Maybe industrial. But one thing about residential property management, it doesn't matter what the rents or the cost of the real estate, you have to live somewhere, right? There's 330 million people in America. They all have to live somewhere. So there will always be residential. It doesn't have the same fluctuation as these asset classes. The latest one, though, is everyone wants to work and play and have their workout and park in the same complex. It's called multi-use. We manage the most amazing place in Aventura. It's called Aventura Park Square. Apartments, condos, parking garage, retail, medical center, office space, and I'm missing one because there's 7 uses in one building. And you could literally live, work out, eat, shop, and never leave a block. It's unbelievable. I think this is, and people are going very urban. So this is a big, fast-moving asset class, very complex property management. You want to get into a growing industry, figure this one out as a property manager. Fred, we talked about asset managers, kind of more the financial investment return side. I mean, if you're an analyst, if you like, I heard someone doing some mortgage or finance calculations over here, if that's what you're good at and what you love, there is a whole industry of asset managers that the property managers work for, that's beyond the scope of today, but it's incredible. And then you have institutions. Who manages the hospitals? Keeps them clean, it keeps the disaster recovery going. Universities, I asked my assistant to put in a picture of NSU. I know this is the oceanographic center, could have been because my son goes there, but think about walking around this campus. You've got buildings, you've got systems, like how does this place cool? How do the lights go on? What are all these safety systems that are going on? You have to know how all of this happens. The maintenance, the housekeeping. What's it like to be a student at NSU? Because I can tell you, President Hamburg thinks about that. He thinks about the layout, and I think you're building more on-campus residential right now. And then finally, there's a whole supply chain. I mean, you have an air conditioning contract in this institution, I believe it's with Hill York, that's unbelievable. You have a cooling plant that's so big, it's got a name, I think it's the Hill York AC Center or something. So you don't even know how much property management's going on as you walk around campus. It's all over. But anyways, any questions on asset classes or types of property management? That's how thorough I am. So this is where I really want to kind of get more into what you guys want to do. I talked about property management. We could have, is there any engineers in the room? So you could be an engineer and spend your whole life in this space. There is an engineer, or many, on this campus that are taking care of all the physical plan. Someone is figuring out what it costs to run this university, where's the money coming from, feeding it into a budget, and then setting tuition fees and fundraising. Huge, huge. Investments, you've got your research center out here. Someone made a decision that they were going to invest $100 million, I don't know how much it was, and that was going to be a good economic decision. They did sensitivity analysis, they did what-if analysis. This is a huge area as well. Feasibility, we get hired by developers to say, this is what we want to do. Does it make any economic sense? This is fun stuff. You get to look at the community. Does it make sense? What could it build? What would the revenue be? What would the expense? Does it make sense? By the way, if you also want to be an investment, if you're a property manager, guess who gets to see all the numbers on the return on a building? So it's also a wonderful space to be in if you want to invest in real estate. Asset management, talk about accounting. I mean, we employ 40 accountants. So my point here is if you're thinking, what do I want to do? You can actually get into the property management business. And our company, after 90 days, you do something called a Castle Career Plan. And we sit down with Gabriel and we say, Gabriel, what do you want to do? Well, I want to do this. Okay, and then what do you want to do? Well, I want to do this. And then what do you do? I don't know. Okay, well, let's do these 2 steps. And then once you're there a couple of years, you're going to go, oh, I saw this area over here that's really interesting. So you could weave your way through a lot of these different things. I know it sounds boring, property management, but there's so many different things to do. Hospitality, the whole hotel industry has a property management function. All these lifestyle communities, you wouldn't believe, I have 25 lifestyle directors. Their only job is to figure out programming, fun things to do for the residents. That's usually in older 55 plus communities, but I don't know if you guys have heard of Los Olas X. It's the newest apartment going in downtown on the river, and you want to live here. They're building 500 square foot units for young people, and they're saying, look, you don't need much space to live, but we're going to have amenities, we're going to have a gym and open kitchens and all of these activity centers. I mean, there's going to be a full-time lifestyle director at Los Olas X just figuring out what all the young people want to do. And it's going to be an incredibly fun place to live for someone your age. Technology I want to talk about a bit more. Procurement. How do we buy all of the supplies? You know, when you're in the bathroom and you got paper towels coming down, how did they get there? There's a whole supply chain related to procurement. This is a biggie. Who's heard of sea level rise? Global warming. We live by the ocean, And I live on Las Olas, and I will tell you this morning, it was 6 inches from overflowing the canal of the New River. And it's not gonna go down, right? It's gonna go up. We have a whole industry, especially in Florida. How do we keep the sea back and keep all our buildings? I mean, theoretically, 100 years from now, there will be no Fort Lauderdale because it's gonna be under that much water. How do we delay that? Huge, huge industry, by the way. Project management, so property management is keeping the company or the property going on a day-to-day basis. Project management is, we'd like to expand and build a research center. That's a project, and you got someone else doing that. All of the properties we have huge projects going, and so we have project managers doing that. By the way, we're the most regulated state in the country in terms of condominiums and homeowner associations. And we're not lawyers, and we're not allowed to practice law. That's any lawyers in the room? Good. And but you have to know it. And then finally, right now, Hurricane Florence is bearing down on the Carolinas. And you're a property manager, and your property is in Carolinas. What do? How do you prepare the property? How do you communicate to everyone living there? How do you make sure they're all out if it's a mandatory evacuation? How do you deal with someone on the 40th floor and they're elderly and they can't move and there's already been an evacuation? This is a massive part of the industry, especially again on the eastern seaboard. But I mean, look, Texas has got it, Hawaii, just recently, Hawaii's got lava, volcanic problems. Huge part of our industry. So my point here was, you came here today, well, first of all, you were interested enough to take a property management minor, which impresses me. But even though you did it, you're still not sure what you want to do. Look at all the different things you could do in this space. That's my point, is it's so broad. Don't worry that you're going to get buttonholed into one little area. So, who's interested in technology? Question.
Yeah, so I just have like a quick story about like the disaster relief.
Yeah.
So my dad owns a landscaping company and works through some commercial property managers, and he does banks. And there was a hurricane last year, and it was like 2.5 weeks beforehand. They were still looking at it, and like they called him every single day to like make sure what his plan was, and like telling him what he should do. And like they sent us like these things so we didn't have to follow the curfew, so we can go out before everybody else. And like it was very expensive for them to fix all that stuff. And they, like I said, 2.5 weeks before, they were still planning it out to make sure they had everything down.
You say your father has a landscape company?
Yes.
So, no one wishes for storms, but if you want to be in the right business when a storm comes, you want to be in the landscape industry. We used to own a landscaping company as part of the Castle Group, and in 04, 05, we had like 4 storms in 2 years, and we have to do the work. We have to get paid. It was an unbelievable situation. Another quick, last year was Irma, right? It was 1 year ago yesterday. The reason I know that is I have a home in Canada where we're from, and my wife spends the summer there, and we always drive back down in September, last week. And so we're driving down, and Irma comes. Irma's coming. And I'm in a property management business. I have to make sure 1,500 people are doing the right thing to prepare for a storm. So I have to get back immediately to Florida. But the planes were all being diverted already. So I found a train, and I got a train to Orlando, and then I rented a car, and I was driving from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale, and no exaggeration, I was the only car going south, and they had opened up like the side lanes going north, and I'm thinking, I'm dumb, I'm going right into this thing. Luckily the storm wasn't so bad, but thank you for that story. So technology, I love tech. My angel investing is in tech, and the reason probably I haven't done so well is I don't know enough about it. But in the property management business, there's so much opportunity for technology. So let's say you live in this apartment we've talked about, and your property management company sends you a link and says, go to the App Store and get, ABC software, and it will help you live here. It'll help you pay your rent. It'll help you order a pizza. It'll help you send a maintenance request to the property management company. It will do all of these things. And these apps exist. But in our space, they didn't exist. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. Why isn't anyone creating this software? And I researched it, and no one was creating the software. So I thought, I'm an entrepreneur, I'll start a software company and we'll create an app. And we did, and it's called Grid Systems. And funny story, all these stories are funny to me, they may not be you, but I'm at the front room, so listen. So I'm sitting at the barbecue with my 29-year-old son, Jordan, and I said, guys, I need a name for my software company. It's got to be, and all I can tell you, it's got to be one syllable, because I think one syllable names are cool. And it can't, no one else can own the name, right? Because there's trademark laws in our country. And it's kind of got something to do with buildings, and anyways, my son named the company. And so this is an app. You can actually go to the App Store and get it. And we created several applications now. Like if you want to find a landscape company, you're a property manager, you're not happy with your landscape company, you want to hire his dad's company, how do you find all of these companies? So we created an app called Grid Vendor, and no matter what you want, you just punch in landscaping or whatever you need, and up will come all the vendors that you could use, rated by my property managers, with an RFP, request for proposal, probability function in it. And so it has changed everything in property management. It's made it way easier to do. How do I make sure 1,500 employees are doing what I need them to do every day? One of the things they have to do is do a report. The property manager has to send a report to the owner of the property or the board of directors every Friday at 5 o'clock. What happened financially, physically, security, and how do I know that that report went to the owner? Well, we created software that my property manager has to do the report on our platform, and it has to be there at 5 o'clock on Friday. At 5:01, my brother, who's our chief operating officer, clicks a button at his control center in Plantation, and he knows every property manager that has sent that report to their owner, or not. You don't want to be in the or not phase with my brother. But I think this may be one of the funnest things to do in property management if you're thinking, what do I want to do? Every property management company has a big IT department. Some of them have software development programs, so this is huge. The second one is sensors. So it used to be, you'd call down and say, it's hot on such and such a floor. And it would, the property manager would call the maintenance guy, and the maintenance guy would go up to the 10th floor and say, yeah, it is. Now there's sensors all over the building, and you literally sit at a panel, and alarm goes off, the 10th floor has gone over your predetermined temperature. It creates a work order, it automatically goes to the engineering department. Sensors are changing, not just property management, sensors are changing the world. So is on the security front. If you go to London, anyone been to London, England? There's virtually nowhere you can go in London, England when you're not on camera. For security reasons, obviously, right? There will be almost every building in the near future, you won't be able to go anywhere in that building without being on camera. So between sensors and cameras, by the way, there's no privacy, right? Privacy is gone. This is a huge opportunity. And related to it is, buildings are taking so much energy, and we have a global warming problem in this country, or in this world, sorry. This is a huge opportunity. If we can reduce the carbon footprint of a building, I mean, that is just good for so many different reasons. But if you're interested in this area, unbelievable. And finally, we're literally making buildings more profitable in the commercial and the multifamily by using tech. So you're trying to win a management account, and you say, hey, if you use my tech, your expenses will go down by 8%. And the owner's going, you mean my profit will go up by 8%? I'll hire you. So I'm clearly more excited about this than you guys are, but this is the area where if you want to get in the property management business, it's fun. And it also, I just want you to realize, like if you walk into my firm, Gabriel, it's not finished yet, but it works more like a technology firm than it does a property management firm, because that's where property management is going. So careers, here's what I tell you. I mean, you wouldn't be in this room if you weren't interested in real estate. You wouldn't be in this program, you know, the PM program, if you didn't have some interest in property management. If you're thinking, what do I want to do in your career? You don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, things that will always be there. Real estate will always be here. You can't, you have to exist in space unless you're homeless. So real estate will always be here. This is a good space to go in if you're planning your career. We always have to live and work somewhere. And what I will tell you is this, right now it's only a minor. We're thinking someday this may be a major, but for now. But this is interesting. It doesn't have to be your primary career. You could actually do something, if you want a second income, you could do this. Or think about how this applies to you personally when you have real estate. I have 2 homes. They're sophisticated, larger homes. And I'm one guy, and I've got, you know, the landscaping, the AC, the electrical, the roof, the gate, whatever it is, always, something always going wrong with homes. So, I'm in the property management business. So I went to my assistant and I said, don't we have like a tool so that you know the AC gets fixed every time and every time? So I literally created these 2 planning calendars essentially for my homes. So you're going to have the same thing. This is even either in your own home or your own apartment, or I can tell I'm going to have some real estate investors in the world. Rather than pay someone to do property management, you can do your own property management. By the way, this is not rocket science. It's just lots of hard work and thinking. So I stop at this slide and say, if you're thinking of career, real estate is good. If you're thinking career, property management is good. If you're thinking of career, so many opportunities. And if you're not thinking career, there's super applicability to what you're learning. So let me talk to you about some trends in property management. I asked International. I hosted 10 property management companies from Dubai probably 10 years ago. Has anyone seen the buildings in Dubai? I've never been there, but I want to go. And the government of Dubai had not figured out how to regulate residential real estate. So they went and said, who's the most highly regulated real estate industry in the world? And it was Florida. And they came to Florida and they basically copied all of our statutes and took them to Dubai. So if you go to Dubai, I mean, you can literally go with your, by the way, in our space, and I know for this particular course, 3301, it talks about licensing a bit, Fred, I think. In our space, you have to have what's called a community association management license. If you're in the rental space, there's some broker's licensing requirements. But basically, if you were a community association managed licensed in Florida, you could go to Dubai and basically know all the laws. My point is, where's the world growing? It's not growing in America. America's growing at less than 2%. It's growing elsewhere. So if you're from outside the United States, or you have interest in going to the United States, I think this is a massive trend. I mean, have you guys seen the cities in China? They haven't even occupied yet. They're so far ahead of it. They've built all these buildings. By the way, someone has to maintain them, even if they're not occupied. The other trend that we're really watching is, hey, you guys may have noticed it when you're driving around, there's some slow drivers in front of you. It's not me, it's older people than me. But we're aging, and Florida is the oldest in the country. And so what does that mean about housing? Older people live in different housing. So if you were wanting to get into a space and asset class, maybe housing for older people is a great place to be. Secondly, the millennials, the young people, they're thinking completely differently about how they live. And so whoever figures out the best millennial housing solutions, that's a good place to be. Younger people aren't buying real estate, they're renting. And I'm like, wow. You know, it used to be when you were young, when I was your age, your goal was to own a home. Who's all excited about owning a home right in the next 5 years? So a few of you, which is great, but the rest of you are going, I'm going to rent. So guess why? By the way, our company, the Castle Group, is starting a company called Castle Residential. which is multifamily management. Why do I want to get into multifamily? Because they're not building condos anymore. They're building apartments. If you go downtown, Fort Lauderdale, there's cranes all over the place. You guys been to Flagler Village and downtown? It's all apartments. So people are renting versus owning. People are moving downtown. They're moving into urban. I talked about mixed use. Fort Lauderdale is on fire. Downtown Miami, on fire. So people are moving to urban. I talked about mixed use. People aren't working in offices anymore. You have, all these WeWork and shared workspaces. Half the time when I'm at work, I'm actually at my I live in a condo on Las Olas. You just don't have to be in an office anymore. It's a little different. You saw my office on the picture there, so it's not like office space is going away, but I would say, and I don't know the statistic, I'm kind of guessing, is half the people would work in office space that used to. So that's going to change a lot. And the online nature of our world, sometimes I wonder why I'm in a store, right? Like, Zappos, so you can buy shoes and buy 10 of them and ship 8 back. You don't even need to go to the store to try them on because they ship them to you. This is changing, obviously, how we live, but it's changing real estate as well. And logistics, this is the greatest business to get into. If you don't want to be in real estate, logistics is. So these trends are ones to watch if you're looking for a career for yourself. Yeah. So I'm ending this before we go to Q&A with, I was often asked, why, James, were you able to go from humble beginnings to an extraordinary life and wealth and family? And I get asked that a lot, and you guys want to know, how do I have an incredible life? So I came up with this concept called life shaping. And basically the premise is that most of us, including myself, live their life like a leaf on a stream. They just go wherever life takes them. And that is the majority of people, and I'm not saying anyone in this room is or isn't. But where are you going to go if you don't know where you're going? So I came up with this concept called life shaping, about living your life consciously, deliberately deciding what I'm going to do, implementing it, and going through the cycle I told you about. And so I'm ending this lecture, and I'm not going anywhere, we're going to talk, but with you guys have the opportunity of taking this clay and literally deciding, if you wanted to be in this space, what it looks like. Let alone just your life in general, but even as we come back to this course, I have just laid out before you 100 different careers or paths that you could decide to do depending on what gets you excited. If you like people, and not all of us do, right? If you have service in your heart, you want to be kind of front of the house. If you're like an introvert and engaging people is energy zapping instead of energizing, you want to kind of be back of the house. There were equal opportunities for both of those there. So my point is, I look out at this young crowd and think, and you're in school, so you're trying to learn, you're trying to get better, you're trying to figure this out. I would say to you that be very conscious of who you are, what your personality type is, and match that to this myriad of opportunities here. So there is actually a lecture that I did on life shaping. It's about an hour. I did it in this building, they videoed it, and Fred, you can send out the link if you'd like, if you want to kind of go deeper into this. But as we move to Q&A, I don't want you to just ask me questions about property management. If you want to ask anything about, James, how did you go from sitting there to standing up here? Because I went to Carleton University in Ottawa, Ontario, and I landed up here. So I think, any questions? So that's, Fred, did I kind of deliver what you wanted us to talk about?
Absolutely.
Any questions about anything I said? Yeah.
So you briefly mentioned that you guys previously held a landscaping business,
Yeah.
and that you're now starting multifamily management. What other interests you guys hold? What other fields?
Great question. What's your name?
Nathan.
Nathan. So, look, as an entrepreneur, you want to make money, right? That's the objective. And now that we've made a lot of money, why do we do philanthropy? Because once you have more money than you need to live, you try and help, right, society, and that's why we have Castle Shares. But until you make money, you try and figure out how to make money. And so the property management business, one of the things I didn't tell you is margins are low. Bottom line in a property management company would be somewhere between 5 and 10% profits. So every dollar you bring in, only 5 or 10 cents falls to the bottom line. Let me contrast that with, there's a company out in Weston called Ultimate Software. Anyone heard of it? Ultimate Software is a payroll processing HR support company. We happen to use them. We pay them $300,000 a year to process our payroll. It's all software. So their margins are 90%. Every dollar that comes in, 90 cents goes to the bottom line. Property management, 5 to 10 cents go to the bottom line. So you need to figure out other ways to make more money if you're smart enough to start Ultimate Software. By the way, Grid, we're in the development of software, so it's negative cash flow, right? Ultimate spent huge amounts of money up front to develop that software. Now they're reaping the benefit of it. But there is, Microsoft, they lost money for the first few years. Anyways, to answer your question, Nathan, we said, well, all these landscape companies, we pay so much money to them for all the properties we manage. Why don't we do the landscape? So we started a landscape company, started doing landscape, and then we said, all of these companies have pools. Why don't we start a pool company? We started a pool company. And then there were all these properties, especially in Florida, needed pest control, to keep the bugs out of the buildings. So we started a pest control company. And then we noticed security was becoming a big issue, so we were paying all this money to security companies, so we started Castle Guard Security. And then finally, a huge industry. By the way, if I had to start my career over again, I would have gone into insurance. Insurance is another great business. I'll have to talk about that later, but the building I'm in downtown, I don't manage it, but my competitor does. The insurance bill is $1 million a year, and the agent gets 10% of that as a commission. $100,000 a year commission on one insurance policy. I'm thinking, I like that business. I'm going to start an insurance company. So that's how I got into the business, Nathan. And the next question is, why am I no longer in the business? So I'll answer that one. Two things happen. First of all, if you're an entrepreneur and you created your own business, what percent of your wealth is in that business? 100. This is a poor risk profile. If something was wrong with the business, you go from here to 0. So that's not a good place to be. And as I got older, I thought, well, this isn't a good risk profile. How do I lower my risk profile? That was one thing that happened. Two is, my competitors started saying, don't hire Castle, because they're going to go hire their own vendors. And so they started using my strategy against me. So the long story short is I sold all those businesses, made a significant amount of money, no longer had all my wealth in my business because I sold it and I put it somewhere else, and I still own the Castle Group. So that's how I got into the landscape business and why I got it. Good questions. What other questions?
Can you talk about more about like the startups you were talking about already?
Startup?
Yeah, the startups.
Yeah, what's your name?
Edwin.
Edward. So, when you're looking to invest money, I'm a real estate guy, so guess where I have most of my money? In real estate. If you're in property management, you see the economics of an asset way better than any investor because you're operating it. So if you're in the real property management business, it's the best lens on real estate investment. So I'm a real estate investor. But you've heard the phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You want to diversify your investments. So what would be some other things you would invest in? Give me some ideas. If not real estate, what else? Give me one, Nathan. Index fund. So that fund could be debt or stocks, but stocks is a good one, right? Everyone invests in the stock market. And the other index funds could be debt. So fixed income, you buy a bond or a treasury. Who knows what's happened to interest rates in the last 10 years? 0. So the return on fixed income is effectively 0. To me, that's a bad return. So I wasn't investing in debt or debt instruments. And I have no freaking clue what happens with the stock market. Every time I think it's going to go up, it goes down. Every time it goes down, I think it's going to go down, it goes up. I'm not smart enough to figure out the stock market. So there was no returns because interest rates are so low. By the way, interest rates are coming back. I believe from an investment strategy that debt instruments will become more attractive soon. The stock market, I just can't figure it out. And so I said, you know where I make most money is in private companies. I'm going to go and invest in private companies called angel investment. And Edward, so my first one was an app. It was Real Biz, it's called. It still exists. It hadn't gone out yet, but I haven't made any money. It was an app. It was you've heard of, well, real estate agents have something called MLS, multiple listing service. That's where all homes are listed. So you would go in as a real estate agent and you would upload all of the information about a house. You take video, literally with your iPhone, and you would take pictures and you would upload the whole file instantly to the MLS. And literally, if you asked me to sell your home, I could come in and 15 minutes later, I've got video, I've got pictures, I've got all the data, I've taken information in from the property appraiser, all uploaded in 15 minutes. That would be a 3-day process before tech. And so each realtor was charged $69 a month for the use of this app. And I'm thinking, this is brilliant. I was wrong, but that was my first investment. The second one is, it's called Monarch. It is you guys heard of Airbnb? Alternative lodging. And there are a couple other of them. But if you want to book on Airbnb, anyone used Airbnb? You have to put in a submission and then wait for the owner to get back to you and accept you or not accept you. It's not like a hotel where you can go online and book it. Well, this new company has only taken on properties where it's real-time booking. So it's the same type of real estate, but there's no longer this back and forth with the owner. You can book real-time. And they've used, you guys heard of IBM Watson?
Yeah.
It's their latest computer, artificial intelligence. They've taken Watson, they've licensed with IBM, and they put it in this intelligent connecting of what you want to the right piece of real estate. And this one I think may have some legs. Third one was an elevator maintenance company. You know I talked about recurring revenue? Every month, at the beginning of the month, as long as I keep the account and do a good job, I get paid a management fee. Low margin, but every month. Elevators are made by Otis. You guys may know this. I don't know. Schlesinger, Kone. I didn't notice. I should notice because I'm in the business. Who the elevators are up there. So Otis comes in. They put in an elevator, and they make NSU sign a 5-year maintenance contract. And every month, NSU has to pay Otis a fee to maintain that elevator. It's a brand new elevator, so nothing goes wrong with it, and Otis makes a pile of money. That's a mandatory, for the most part, 5-year contract. At the end of 5 years, you can go get whoever you want to maintain your elevator. And there's all these private companies that charge half of what Otis does. And so I'm an investor in a company called Connection Elevator, and we go around at the end of the 5-year Otis, and we get the maintenance contract. And a Grid is my fourth, and my fifth is a company called TrueNomi. You can go to truenomi.com. And one of the phenomena of the internet is we lost control of all of our personal data, right? Facebook knows more about you than you know about you. And there's 5. There's Apple, Google, Facebook, help me out, Amazon, and I'm failing on the fifth one, but these guys collectively know absolutely every move you make. Is that right? And this is coming up, you saw what happened with Facebook recently. In fact, do you know 1/4 of Americans have now taken off Facebook? And I know your generation doesn't even use Facebook anymore, but it's called the industry of permissioning and consenting the use of your personal data. And they just passed a law in Europe in May 25th called GDPR, the General Data Privacy Act. And you, as a company, can no longer use anyone's personal data without their permission. Can you imagine if you're a bank and you've got 1 million customers? How do you get the permission for all 1 million of them? So Tsunomi has created a software that we control on our iPhone which institution is allowed to do what. And in Europe, they're not allowed to use your data unless you give them permission. So this is a permissioning software. I think it could be huge. I don't know whether we'll be the winner, right? There's always a winner. But it's fantastic. And by the way, I'm 57. Most 57-year-olds don't know this tech going on in the world. And the only reason I do is because I'm investing in it and I'm fascinated by it. But Edward, that's a long answer to you. What else am I investing in? Yeah? Yeah?
I have kind of a funny question. Okay, so I was in Ottawa this summer.
No.
My boyfriend lives there. So we went actually this summer to a concert. We went to Escapade, and I think we ate at Pizza. Is that still a place?
It is actually. So Pizza was new in 1986 or whatever that was. And it was in Toronto, and they were expanding to Ottawa, and it was pretty uncertain. And I don't know why I thought of this at such a young age, but I didn't know whether it would stick in Ottawa. Because because you're successful in one city doesn't mean you can expand it to the next. So I negotiated what's called a put. You guys into calls and puts? I negotiated a put option that they had to buy back if we didn't hit certain growth or if they didn't open certain stores. And it wasn't a profitable. I've told you guys about a lot of failure here today, right? But that's what happens. And this was not a successful, so I was able to put it back to Pizza, but in the end they were successful and it's still there, yeah.
Because I saw it and I looked at her and I was like, I think we went there.
We did. It's good pizza. And Ottawa's a great city.
I'm from New York, so Ottawa pizza and really compare.
Cool. Yes?
I have a third question. 4 in total.
4?
Yes.
We have a quota of 2.
Oh.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Well, basically, I'm interested in getting information about the age limit on the hiring process. Do you hire, what is the, because in this world, sometimes, not your company, but there are several companies that are discriminating people because of their age.
It's a great question. Let me answer that one and we'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
So we have great laws in this country. And the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity EEOC Commission, is the entity in the United States that makes sure that we don't discriminate by race, by age, by sex. And I'm telling you this story because we, with 1,500 employees, we get EEOC complaints. And we think we're a great employer, but we still get a complaint. I'm telling you this story because, what's your name?
Daisy Lee.
Say it.
Daisy Lee.
Daisy Lee? Daisy Lee. We had a complaint. We had a complaint from an older man. The man was about 65 years old. And what's amazing about this story is he never worked for us. He applied, he didn't get the job, and he went to the EEOC and said, I didn't get the job because I'm 65. And so, by the way, there's a process. If you get a complaint, you can't ignore it. You have to respond, and the EEOC adjudicates. So the EEOC is coming in. They've started a new program where they're coming in because they want to see, do you have systems in place in your company to make sure you don't discriminate? And we do. So my HR director prepares for the meeting, and it was a property management job they were applying for. And we have 200 property managers. And she put the age from high to low of all my managers. And by the way, age in employment terms is 40. If you're either above 40 or below 40. It sounds like a young age, right? But the discriminating age is 40. Whether you're 41 or 61, you can still discriminate on age. And over 60% of our managers were over 40, starting at 75 and going down. So obviously we won the case. We don't discriminate. We have it's funny, we kind of have this older group, and then we've got all the young people coming in, but I will tell you this, property management tends to be a great second career as well. I'm making this up, you're a police officer, you've done 25 years, you're on full pension, you know, you're 50 or 55 years old, you have lots of energy and ability, and you want to make more money, you come work in this industry. So, very diverse, but basically 18 to, I think we have one gentleman that's 80. Yeah. And by the way, big cost, right? Because we are required to provide health care in this country, which is good. And who has higher health bills, older or younger? By a huge margin. So having an older workforce is an expensive thing, but they're great workers, they're smart, they're experienced. You want to ask another one?
Could you explain what is the entry-level salary and how many years have to pass to reach the six-figure salary?
So if you guys graduate with your degree and you have your minor in property management, you're probably starting at $35,000 to $40,000. You will be put through a program starting at kind of a basic, and after 6 months we move you to a property as a lower level employee. After 1 year you go up to $5,000, and then you get your CAM in my space, the Community Association Manager's License, and you would in your second year get an assistant management position, and you go 35, 40, 45. As soon as you get a property, it's minimum 50, and then it goes up rapidly because the supply and demand is off. Right now, we can't find managers. So let's say I'm paying you $50,000, and you're a pretty good young manager. My competition is going to come pay 60 because they need the manager so bad. So you would literally go. I would think you would go once you got your manager and you got a property. You go 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and $10,000. It's that fast.
Is the previous employment experience considered to the process?
Everyone hear that? Is previous experience relevant? It is, but think about this. You're my client, and I got to put someone there to manage the property. And I could take someone right out of school with a property management minor, or I could take 40-year-old, did something else, school teacher, I'm making that up. Well, you know what, there's not much difference in their ability from the property management function. Obviously, the 40-year-old has more life experience, maybe more common sense, maybe more people skills. But the truth is, I still have to go put that manager at a property. And I guess that's a long way of saying there isn't a huge premium for prior experience. It may mean you can go up quicker though, because you know you've got all this life experience and you can go. I didn't show the video, and it's kind of boring, so I'm not going to show it. But there was two people in that video. Antoinette came to us when she was 18, and she's 28 now, and she's gone from. I mean, at 18, she worked the front desk at something. I'm assuming she weighed $10 an hour, and now she's at 100. Ray started with us 8 years ago answering the phone, and he's now a regional director, runs a $5 million business, makes well over $100,000 8 years. My regional directors who manage managers, so a regional director manages 10 managers, they would make about 110, 120, and then a VP who runs the regional directors would make between 150 and 200, and then we have regional presidents that, like the guy that runs Miami would be over $200,000. So these are good salaries, and you know there are industries you can make more, but I didn't think you could make 200 grand. And by the way, I mean, I may have 10 people in my company that make 200 grand. I mean, that's the top of the barrel, but I wouldn't have thought you could make that kind of money in property management. So. All right, does anyone else have a question? You can't take them all, but I'll come back to you.
You answered the last two with your.
Question? Yeah.
What type of internships do you offer?
Well, we're very flexible. First of all, we told NSU that we will accommodate the internship requirement. And in a perfect world, it's the summer program because we have everyone come in at the same time. And we literally have a really nice program for you where you're with your peers, right? So you're not coming in alone. But they're usually 8 weeks we pay. It's a paid internship. And we run you through kind of what we do, a little more detail than I did. And then quite quickly, depending on what your interest, if it's marketing, we send you to marketing, if it's accounting, you go to accounting. But most people are coming into our space for internships and property management. They want to be a property manager. And so we send you to a property. And you work side by side with a property manager at a property for the 8 week, well, probably 6 of those weeks.
So if I said I was interested in hospitality, I could do an internship for that?
Yeah, and so in our world, hospitality, I have hospitality up here in the broader sense in all of the property management functions, but in our world, we call them lifestyle directors. And these are people who are providing the programming for the residents of a community. And so we would put you in a community that has a lifestyle director and you would work with the lifestyle director. Yeah. By the way, that's a nice, if you're into event planning or really like entertaining or you like people, that's a good space. You don't make as much money in the hospitality side, I thought every now in our business, but it's a fun job. Okay.
So I'm from Michigan, so like
You're almost Canadian.
basically because I'm born there. But besides that, but I was just wondering, you know how it's your internship with you, correct? With your company?
Yeah, you don't have to do it with us.
You don't have to.
No. Right? Fred, they can do an internship anyway.
With anyone,
Sorry?
with anyone, with any company, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so in fact, if you wanted to do one in Michigan, I happen to know a management company in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So we're here to help you guys, right? I want you guys to learn, and I want you to love the business, and I want you to get a job, and frankly, I want you to work for us. But if your home's in Michigan and you want to intern in Michigan before you come to work for us, we would love to help you. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you offer internships during the school year or just the summer?
Yeah, no, Fred, have we done them during school year? Do you
Not
know?
yet.
Not yet, but we're.
I mean, not with Castle Group.
Yeah, well, we can. Yeah, I knew we were gonna have to because of this program, I just didn't know whether we did or not. To be honest, I'm not personally involved in that. Our HR department's fantastic. But yeah. Sir?
Do you have other offices around the state of Florida?
Yeah, so we have our big one here, like when I say it's here, it's 595 in Flamingo, Palm Beach, Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Sarasota, and then we have one in Estero, which is halfway between Naples and Fort Myers, and one in Plano, Texas. Yeah.
Because I live in Orlando right now, so.
Yeah, we don't have a big presence in Orlando. I can't tell you why. We didn't go in there till later, and some markets take off for us, and for some reason Orlando has not taken off for us, but we have a few properties there. Sir?
What made it possible for you to expand out towards Texas?
What made it possible?
Yeah. What brought you over there?
That's a good question. So, let me give you an example. In our business, we manage condos and HOAs. So you know what I mean when I say condos and HOAs? Do you realize condos and HOAs didn't exist until 50 years ago? So, I'll give you an example. Jacksonville is a good city. It's also the oldest city in Florida, and was developed pre-condos and HOAs. So we beat our head against the wall trying to be successful in Jacksonville. There just aren't enough condos and HOAs because it's an older city. Texas became Texas in the last 50 years. And so it's got almost everything being built is either in a gated community or is a condo. And so, #1 market in the country is probably Florida right now. I mean, New York is there, but New York is a union-run, co-op, strange breed that we have no interest in. California is a huge market, but Texas is the closest market with the similar characteristics to Florida. So that was the primary driver. The 4 markets of Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin actually have a bigger population footprint than the markets we serve here in Florida. And finally, I had 2 young, 27-year-old whippersnapper teammates, we call our employees teammates, and they wanted to move to Texas and they were going to leave the firm. And we knew when we got to a certain revenue level, we needed to leave the state. And just, you've heard how many risks I've taken in my life. I said, let's go start. So we went to Jimmy and Spencer and we said, hey, why don't you open Castle, and we're off and running. Yeah. Sir?
I'm from England, and back home it's quite hard for first-time buyers to kind of put a down payment down for a house. How would you encourage young people wanting to buy a house for the first time, kind of make the first step?
Yeah. Well, it's outside my pay grade. That's not an area of expertise. A couple comments. Number 1, my wife was born in Liverpool. So, and my youngest son, because my wife was born in Liverpool, graduated from Babson. I wanted to work in London. And because she got a British passport in like 4 days and went to work in London. And so we spent a lot of time in London. Are you from London?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's stupid expensive. I mean, it's one of the most expensive cities in the world. So I think the answer to your question is, trying to buy real estate in London is nuts. But the broader question is, how do you start your real estate career? Like anywhere, how do you come up with some money? And the first answer is you have to save. Like I've got 3 boys earning, modest incomes now, and I'm like, what do you say? What do you say? What do you say? I'm not being that successful, right? You gotta have some money, or you have family money. But another strategy, and I had another picture I could have showed you. My brother and I, when we were, I don't think I was out of college, we went and bought a duplex. And we lived at my mom and dad's, and we bought the duplex and we rented it out. And we rented it out and it paid the mortgage, and then we levered that one into a second building, and finally we had the down payment for our own home. So, that's probably not a great answer, but that's my experience. But London, I don't even know that I want to own real estate in London. It's, remember the cycle? By the way, my belief, 100% my opinion, Fred's probably going to shake his head at me, is it goes like this, right? Where do you guys think we are in the curve right now? The 08 recession bottomed out. We went and bought 400,000 square feet of industrial space in Orlando with $38 a square foot in 09. Replacement cost $100, $110. 5 years later, guess what? It has to go to construction costs by definition. And literally tripled money only because we had cash at the bottom of the market. I think we're getting up there. And you can't hit the bottom and you can't hit the top, right? That's luck. But you can be close, and I think we're getting up here. And so I'm not a buyer in real estate right now, but I'm hoarding cash for when it comes back down. So my other answer to your question, I don't think now is time to buy it. My oldest son wants to buy a house. I'm like, I wouldn't buy a house right now, so. Yes, sir.
Wouldn't depend on the market per se.
It
Since
does.
Florida last year, the hurricanes hit, Naples, Key West, great real estate down there.
It's a good point, right? Like, I'm making really broad statements. Within a state, within a country, within a world, there's different markets, and that, there's markets that go crazy, markets that don't. I'm really talking globally. Absolutely, there's opportunities geographically. Sir?
Game contract.
That's a great question. By the way, the worst thing in the world, you don't want to be in my company when we lose a contract. We've lost a big contract. So going back to my 1981 property, they pay a management fee every month for 37 years. This is why you love this business. How do I get a new contract? And when I get it, they're gonna pay me a management fee as long as I do the job forever. I'm only gonna sell it once. You gotta surface it forever. It's like, if I'm selling cars, if I'm Rick Case, I sell a car, I know Rick, and the transaction's over, and you may or may not come back to Rick Case to buy another car, and it won't be for 5 years. So I have to resell every car. I mean, maybe there's some customers that keep coming back to me, but probably not. For us, we make one sale and it lasts forever. So what we did is we said, remember I said we only do 15% of the market? We licensed Salesforce.com software, you guys have heard of it. And we found every property in the state of Florida that meets our criteria, and we put it in Salesforce. And every property, every quarter, hears from our company. So we touched every one of our target properties every quarter. I've divided the state into 5 regions, and every region has a business development person. I didn't even talk about this. If you like sales, so I have a business development manager in every market. And their job, it's a funnel, right? All sales is a funnel. A sale is at the bottom of the funnel. The meeting is above it. The proposal is above that. The lead is above that. The marketing is above that. And so what we did was up at the top of the funnel, we know that there's these many properties in Florida that we want to manage, touch them every quarter. We know that if our business development manager makes X number of calls, they will get this many meetings, there will be this many proposals, this many. So we simply sell mathematically, identify the target, figure out how many people are in that, and then we literally, I can tell you for this many in there, we'll get, and this many touch points, we'll get this many calls in. For these many cold calls, we'll get this many meetings. It's all an algorithm. And so I would have 6 business developers, a full-time data miner. His only job is to figure out, we got everyone in there, have we touched them? A marketing manager, a full-time creative person. Their only job is to create all of our creative for our websites and whatnot. So the answer is we have a very robust marketing department, because the return on a sale in our business is fantastic. As opposed to, and I'm not against the car business, Rick Case is richer than I am, but he has to do so much work to get every one of those car sales. 5 minutes. Any other questions? Yes?
You talked about buying low in 09 and 08. How did the recession affect the business as is? Because a lot of people weren't being able to make their payments and all that, so probably a lot of like tenants and all that couldn't pay your services.
What a great question. It was luckily, remember I told you we do the higher end of the market? The higher end of the market have more money, so they have more money to pay. In our business, they don't pay rent, they pay maintenance fees every month. So when the market went down, people lost their jobs. It was terrible. Property values went down, and they couldn't pay their maintenance. Well, the way a condominium, to use that as an example, if a condominium costs $1 million to run in a year, and it's got 100 units, that's how much it costs for each unit. What if one person doesn't pay? It still costs $1 million to run it. So you've got a terrible problem here. And what happened was there was this massive legal collection, debt collection process, and there was no mercy. If you couldn't pay, you lost your unit. It was terrible. It wasn't our decision, but the effect was condominiums and homeowner associations had to tighten their belt, spend less money, negotiate with their landscape company for a little better deal. But it was a bloodbath. I've never seen anything like it. The only surprise was the speed in which it came back, because real estate was so cheap. BlackRock, Blackstone, all these big venture firms, they came in and they just bought because the people lost their home and went to the bank. The banks didn't know what to do with them, and so these big funds came in and they bought, one company bought 2,000 single family homes. And so that stabilized the market, and then it all came back and they made a lot of money. It was not nice. So, I have with me one for everyone. Are we taking a break after this?
Quick break.
Yeah. So you, and I'm not gonna hand them out, you can come up. I have a refreshment of the best chocolate in the world from the chairman of NSU. He didn't give them to me, I had to buy them. That's probably why he's the chairman of NSU. And I don't know whether you guys like spinners, and you're gonna hate me, Fred. You know what's gonna happen the whole second half of this time? Anyways, it was an absolute pleasure speaking to you. You excite me because you're the future, and I used to be you, and I'm just so, I just hope so much that, you know, your journey, and it's a journey up and down, is as fun as mine is. And we need you, we want you to work for us, and I hope I've given you some flavor of what this world is like in our space, right? If I was in the tech world, I'd tell you a different story, and if I was in the accounting world, I'd tell you a story. This is my story, this is what happens in the property management, the real estate business, but I hope I showed you it's maybe a little broader than you thought when you came in today. There's so much to do, and literally the world is your oyster in this space, but you have to pass the property management minor. That's the most important. Absolutely. So,
Great. Thank you very much,
all
Dennis.
right.